A few days ago, when I was in Brussels, I had the pleasure to visit an exhibition which was so good that I simply had to share it with you. So, in this video, we will be reviewing the solo exhibition by Jonathan Wateridge titled Aftersun at Nino Mier Gallery in Brussels. Jonathan Wateridge, born in 1972 in Lusaka, Zambia, resides and works in Norfolk, England. His paintings seem to be a documentation or a snapshot of certain narrative events, such as people bathing or having a nap. However, these images are an artificially created, so-called non-event, directed by the artist. Wateridge recreates a certain scenario in which he builds a full-scale set of the surroundings, populated by performers enacting certain roles. This process takes place in the artist's studio, with the themes being often very banal and a depiction of everyday life. Let's dive into the show with the press release by Nino Mier Gallery, accompanied by some installation views. I must say, even though the installation views are terrific, it's nothing compared to the real experience of the show. It's absolutely a magnificent building and, above all, simply terrific works by the artist. The exhibition, which develops the artist's investigation of affect and class as they coalesce around the poolside, will be on view in Brussels from April 26 until May 21st of 2022. A haunted phantasmagoria pervades Jonathan Wateridge's Aftersun. Spectral, isolated men and women blend in and out of their poolside environments. Gritty faces look past us with an obscure intensity, and phosphorescent, glowing bodies of loom overhead. Shadowy, sensual figures appear and disappear throughout the paintings in this exhibition, their surfaces partially eroded as if vestiges of a bygone past. The exhibition hovers in the liminal realm between public and private, the actual and the fantasized. The familiar is estranged in this representation of a life of leisure in threatened decline. The works in Aftersun are the latest installment in a series of poolside paintings for which Wateridge is well known. The series initially explored economic and racial tensions in post-colonial Zambia, witnessed by a young Wateridge most poignantly in and around pools. Early painting in this body of work featured adroit representations of figures emanating foreboding auras of decadence, atomization, and social discordance, based on large sets built by the artist and populated with figure models. The suite of works in Aftersun marks a departure from these earlier works, both formally and conceptually. The expressive elements of Wateridge's style come to the fore in Aftersun, combining a sense of the cinematic with the visual grammars of modernism. Many of the painting's compositions reflect framing conventions of film, and his use of stark, bright light recalls the camera's flash at night. Swimmer in Yellow, for instance, depicts a woman sitting at a pool's edge, staring pensively just past the viewer. Like in a film still, the canvas is horizontal and centers the subject's expressive face. Her body's yellow contours and pale skin radiate with a power that evokes studio lightning. Wateridge has long been interested in the relationship between painting and the filmic, having appropriated the cinematic process to create his early paintings. Such nods to motion pictures are suggestive of artifice and storytelling, but the work remains a captivatingly open narrative. The insinuation of meditation and narrative within each painting is balanced with the immediacy of material and form. Each painting in the exhibition is heavily worked, creating a sense of materiality discordant with the spectrality of the figures within them. Wateridge notes that his paintings on canvas, which can evolve over many months, often have had as much paint taken off the canvas as had been applied to it. Likewise, his works on paper depict dreamlike, almost violently weathered subjects whose bodies are partially transparent, an effect achieved through sanding down the paper's surface. Such changes are visible on the surfaces of the works, which embrace moments wherein the limits of bodies and architectures are porous, incomplete, or indeterminate. While the pool as a signifier of good life, optimism, and Western affluence remains prominent in Aftersun, figures have now begun to encroach upon other interior and exterior environments, such as bedrooms, parlors, gardens. And rather than probing his memory for scenes and atmospheres he remembers in Zambia, Wateridge now locates his figures in a kind of wealthy anyplace. More than just displaying interpersonal tension, this body of work explores how class anxiety might find an aesthetic articulation. There is a sense that these figures are isolated, interrupted, or insecure, unsure that the world they occupy will be available to them tomorrow. The stability of their social formations, much like the stability of their painterly forms and surfaces, is effaced. Aftersun is the sunburn after the fever dream, the weakened body after a heat stroke. Nightfall illuminates what has slipped away into formlessness as a disquieting atmosphere saturates this world. Wateridge's figures float around their private paradises like ghosts, haunting a realm they don't quite belong to, but remain entrapped by. Here, Wateridge registers a crisis in perception. His figures' eyeless faces look, but they cannot see. The thing which struck me the most while visiting this simply wonderful exhibition is how Jonathan Wateridge's paintings have this looming notion of uncertainty. It feels as if the sword of Damocles is hovering above your head while viewing his works. We know the environments are staged, the subjects are actors, the narratives are acted, everything is very artificial, it is fiction, it is fantasy. However, it feels very real, very tangible, as if this in-between state is closer to real life than it is to fiction. Then there are, of course, these holes in the top layer in which we see the radiant, colorful underpainting coming through. It seems as if these specific areas, these specific zones in the canvas are what one could call negative spaces, as if there are holes in reality, as if reality is fragmented or falling apart. If you would have the opportunity or you would be nearby Brussels, I highly recommend you to visit the show. The exhibition runs until May 21st of this year. Thank you so much for watching today. Feel free to watch our video on Damien Hirst's formaldehyde sculptures at Ghent Gallery, and please consider subscribing to stay posted on more contemporary art. Bye.